Have you ever felt it? That pang in your chest, the feeling that no matter what you do, she just doesn't see you, doesn't value you. It's as if your presence is irrelevant. You try hard, you dedicate yourself, you're always available. But the response? An emptiness, an indifference that hurts. And the worst part, you fear that if you disappeared, she wouldn't even notice. But what if I told you there's a hidden power within you, a force capable of turning the tables, not through manipulation, but through a deep and authentic transformation, a change that will suddenly make your absence felt, not out of neediness, but from a new and irresistible gravity you start to emanate. This isn't a trick, it's an ancient philosophy, a path to emotional freedom, a secret that, once mastered, will make her not miss you until you're gone. Prepare to uncover the power of detachment, the art of being complete in yourself. The game is about to change, and the first move is yours. First, let's talk about the inconvenient truth, the prison of dependence. You live seeking external validation. Yes, you. That's the raw truth. You believe that your happiness, your worth, depend on the gaze, the approval, the presence of another person. This is the prison of emotional dependence. It's a vicious cycle, where the more you pursue, the more the other party pulls away. It's exhausting, frustrating, and leaves you vulnerable. You feel like a satellite orbiting a planet that barely notices your existence. Dependence is the antithesis of autonomy. It makes you predictable, lacking your own spark. It's your vital energy drained outward instead of being channeled inward. Imagine yourself at the end of a string, always ready to respond to a call, a message, a nod. You cancel plans, postpone your own projects, all to be available. You're always on, phone in hand, waiting. With each vibration, a jolt of hope, often followed by disappointment. This constant expectation is a heavy burden, isn't it? Have you felt the weight of that string pulling you? How would you react if for an entire day you completely disconnected from that expectation and directed all that energy into something you love to do? But how do you break this cycle? How do you turn off waiting mode and ignite your own light? Second, the awakening of the sovereign self. Mastering what is yours. You don't control what others feel or do, but you have absolute control over your reactions, your emotions, and your actions. This is the essence of Stoicism. It's the dichotomy of control, and it's liberating. True power resides within you, not in the other. The sovereignty of the self is the ability to govern your own inner world, regardless of external storms. It's understanding that your peace cannot be stolen, only given away. Let's begin the 30-day journey. On the first day, you start your autonomy journal, a simple tool, digital or physical. In it, each morning you write down 3 things that are under your control today, such as your attitude, your focus, your discipline, and one that is not, like someone's response or an unexpected event. At night, you review. Your mind pulls you to the past or future, to what she is doing. The temptation to check what is not under your control is overwhelming. But you resist. You feel the pen gliding on the paper, the satisfying click of the keyboard, the texture of the page. You are in control. On the third day, you notice that anxiety decreases when you focus on what you can control. It's a subtle but real relief. The inverse visualization technique, known as premeditatio malorum, is powerful. Before an important event, visualize the worst possible scenario. Not to attract it, but to accept that if it happens, you will survive. This takes away the power of fear and expectation. Have you ever thought about how the simple acceptance of the worst can alleviate the weight of anxiety? But how do you apply this acceptance actively, transforming it into a force that propels you forward? Now it's time to like this video if you're feeling that this message is resonating with you. Your support is essential for more people to discover the power of detachment. Comment below what your biggest challenge is when it comes to emotional dependence. Let's create a community of men who support each other on this journey of transformation. Third, the art of active detachment. Building your inner empire. Detaching isn't about being indifferent or cold. It's understanding that your happiness cannot be held hostage by external factors. It's building an inner empire so solid that nothing from the outside can shake it. True attraction doesn't come from neediness, but from self-sufficiency. When you need nothing, you become irresistible. Active detachment is the practice of investing in yourself, in your values, in your projects, becoming a source of satisfaction for yourself. It's the cultivation of your own inner compass, a value alignment method you will use daily. The autonomy journal you've already started serves to record what is under your control. The inner compass is a daily 5-minute exercise, which you can do in a simple notes app or a notebook. In it, you list your 3 main values, such as integrity, learning, and creativity, and 3 actions you will take today to honor them, regardless of anyone else. The immediate feedback rule states that every activity in your 30-day plan must have immediate and clear feedback for yourself. No external validation. On the 5th day, you begin to practice the inner compass. On the 7th day, instead of waiting for a message, you dedicate an hour to a hobby you've always wanted to start. It could be learning a new language online, playing an instrument, or working on a personal project in your workshop. The focus is total. You feel the warmth of genuine satisfaction. On the 10th day, you decide to go to the New York Public Library, an environment of focus and learning. There you immerse yourself in a book on a topic that interests you, applying the immediate feedback rule. At the end of each chapter, you jot down a relevant insight in your autonomy journal. Your mind wanders, trying to pull you back to the person. The lack of immediate results can be demotivating, but you persist. You realize that solitude isn't an emptiness to be filled, but a sacred space for self-development. That's the difference between being alone and feeling lonely. On the 14th day, you organize your personal space, whether it's your desk, your room, or even the garage. A clean and organized environment reflects a clear mind. You feel the renewed energy in the air, the lightness of order. What would you do today if you knew your happiness depended only on you? But what happens when you start to shine on your own? How does the world, and she, react to this new version of you? 4th, the inevitable reaction, the domino effect of your detachment. When you change, everything around you changes. The paradox of attraction. The less you seek, the more you are found. Your energy becomes magnetic. You're no longer chasing, you are being. Your new self-sufficiency creates a vacuum. A space that was once filled by your neediness is now occupied by your strong and authentic presence. This is noticed. It is felt. On the 18th day, you get involved in a new online group or activity that aligns with your inner compass values. It could be a course, a discussion forum on a topic of interest, or a community of practice. You contribute actively, share your thoughts, without seeking approval. You feel the satisfaction of connecting out of genuine interest, not out of neediness. You realize that your happiness doesn't depend on a single source. Life is rich in experiences and connections. On the 21st day, the first sign appears. An unexpected message, a subtle comment, a question about something you're doing. It's not a desperate plea, but genuine curiosity. She's noticing your absence, your new occupation. The rule here is not to react with euphoria. Stay calm, respond with serenity, and focus on what you're doing. The temptation to revert to old patterns, to jump into the conversation. The doubt that this is just a coincidence, positive indifference. It's not ignoring. It's not caring about the outcome. You respond, but you don't emotionally invest in the reply. The goal is to maintain your peace, not reactivate the chase. Can you imagine the strength you'll have when external validation becomes just a bonus and not a necessity? But how do you sustain this new reality? How do you ensure this transformation isn't a flash in the pan, but a permanent change in your life? If you've been following along so far, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell icon for notifications. We have much more transformative content coming, and you won't want to miss it. Share this video with that friend who needs to hear this message. Together, we are stronger. The new reality. Keeping the flame of autonomy lit. You've arrived here. You've felt the change. True freedom is not needing anyone to miss you for you to feel complete. The missing she feels is just a reflection of your new radiance. Maintaining autonomy requires constant vigilance, but it becomes increasingly natural. It's the daily practice of reaffirming your intrinsic worth. On the 24th day, you practice strategic silence. Instead of filling every gap in communication, you allow space. You observe. You breathe. You are in control of the pace. On the 27th day, you dedicate yourself to a physical challenge. It could be a run, a new exercise at the gym, or a hike in a distant park. You feel your body moving, the sweat on your skin, the overcoming of each limit. The energy you once spent on worry is now used to build a stronger body and mind. On the 29th day, you have a casual conversation with her or with someone who used to cause you anxiety. The difference? There's no expectation. There's no desperation. You are present but detached from the outcome. You feel light, in control. On the 30th day, you revisit your autonomy journal and inner compass. You see the progress. You realize how much you've grown. The person who started this journey is not the same as the one who finishes it. You've become the person she didn't miss until you were gone. And now, you no longer need her to miss you. This is your greatest victory. True attraction is the byproduct of a life well lived, not its goal. If you could choose between being desired out of neediness or admired for your fullness, which would you choose? You know what's most impressive about this whole journey? It's that when you stop needing external validation, when you stop living for someone else, something magical happens. You become complete. And complete people attract complete people. It's not about manipulation. It's not about mind games. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. It's about understanding that self-love isn't selfishness. It's a necessity. It's about realizing that when you put yourself first in a healthy way, you have much more to offer the world. And yes, she will miss you. But you know what? That no longer matters. Because you've discovered something much more valuable. You've discovered yourself. You've discovered that the most important person in your life is the one who looks back at you in the mirror every morning. And that person deserves all your love, all your attention, all your care. The journey of detachment isn't easy. There will be days when you'll want to revert to old patterns. Days when loneliness will feel too heavy. Days when you'll question if it's worth it. In those moments, remember why you started. Remember that feeling of emptiness, of chasing someone who doesn't value you. Remember the emotional exhaustion of living for someone else. And then, take a deep breath and keep going. Because on the other side of this journey is freedom. The freedom to be yourself. The freedom to choose. The freedom to love without needing. The freedom to live without depending. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control external events, but we can control our response to them. When you embrace this philosophy, when you truly understand and apply this principle, your life changes. You stop being a victim of circumstances. You stop blaming others for your unhappiness. You take responsibility for your life. And that is powerful. That is transformative. That is what separates the boys from the men. Real men don't live for any woman. They live for their purposes, their values, their dreams. And when they do that, they naturally attract people who value those qualities. Think of all the great men in history. Think of the leaders, the inventors, the artists, the philosophers. They had something in common. They were driven by something greater than others' approval. They had a mission, a purpose, a vision, and that made them irresistible. Not because they tried to be, but because they simply were. When you develop that same quality, when you become driven by your inner purpose, you emanate a different energy, an energy of confidence, certainty, direction. And that is extremely attractive. But let's be honest here. I'm not saying you should become a hermit. I'm not saying you should cut off all your relationships. What I am saying is that you should change the dynamic of those relationships. Instead of being the chaser, be the chased. Instead of being the needy, be the desired. Instead of being the deficient, be the abundant. And that doesn't happen by pretending. It happens by being complete, by being sufficient, by being whole. Daily practice is fundamental. The Autonomy Journal isn't just a silly exercise. It's a powerful self-awareness tool. When you write what's under your control and what isn't, you train your mind to focus on what matters. You stop wasting energy on what you can't change. The inner compass keeps you aligned with your values. How many times have you lost yourself trying to please someone? How many times have you betrayed your own principles for fear of losing someone? The inner compass is your true north. It's what guides you when all else fails. And strategic silence. That's pure gold. We live in an era of instant communication. We expect immediate responses. We want constant attention. But silence has power. Silence creates space. Silence generates curiosity. Silence demonstrates control. When you don't respond immediately, when you don't fill every void with words, you show that you have a life, that you have priorities, that you aren't desperate. And that, my friend, is irresistible. Physical transformation is also crucial. Not just for appearance's sake, though that also matters, but for what it represents. When you dedicate yourself to improving your body, you're telling yourself that you're worth the effort. You're investing in yourself. Every rep at the gym, every mile run, every drop of sweat is a declaration of self-love. It's you saying, I deserve to be healthy, I deserve to be strong, I deserve to feel good. And when you feel good physically, that overflows into all other areas of your life. Intellectual development cannot be neglected. Read books, watch documentaries, learn new skills, expand your horizons. An interesting man is a man who has something to say, who has well-formed opinions, who can contribute to a conversation, who can teach something new. When you stop living for one person and start living for your own growth, you become fascinating. You become someone people want to be around. And social connections. These are vital, but not just any connection. Quality connections. People who add value to your life, who challenge you, who inspire you. When you stop investing all your energy in a single person who doesn't value you and start building a network of meaningful relationships, your life gains incredible richness. You realize that the world is vast, that there are thousands of interesting people out there, that you don't need to settle for crumbs of attention. Creativity also flourishes when you free yourself from emotional prison. How many projects have you abandoned? How many dreams have you postponed? How many ideas have you let die because you were too busy chasing someone? When you redirect that energy toward creation, miracles happen. You can write that book. You can start that business. You can learn that instrument. You can create that art. And you know what's most incredible? When you're creating, when you're in the flow, you don't even remember you were suffering over someone. Spirituality, regardless of your belief, also has its role. I'm not necessarily talking about religion. I'm talking about connection to something greater. It could be nature. It could be the universe. It could be your own consciousness. When you develop this connection, when you find that center, external turbulences lose their power over you. You find a peace that doesn't depend on anyone, a serenity that comes from within. And forgiveness? That is liberating. Forgive her for not valuing you. Forgive yourself for putting yourself in that position. Forgiveness isn't about the other person. It's about you. It's about releasing the weight of resentment. It's about making space for better things. When you forgive, you free yourself. You cut the chains that bind you to the past. You allow yourself to move forward. Gratitude transforms everything. When you stop focusing on what's missing and start appreciating what you have, your energy changes. Be grateful for the lesson. Be grateful for the opportunity to grow. Be grateful for the chance to discover yourself. Gratitude isn't denying the pain. It's finding the gold in the mud. It's understanding that every experience, no matter how painful, has something to teach you. And patience, that is fundamental. Transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's small daily steps. It's consistent choices. It's habits that accumulate. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate small victories. Acknowledge progress. Don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. And if today you're a little better, that's already a victory. Authenticity is your superpower. When you stop trying to be who you think she wants and start being who you really are, something magical happens. You attract the right people. You push away the wrong people. You live with integrity. You sleep soundly. The mask is heavy. Taking it off is liberating. Be you. Completely. No excuses. Purpose is what keeps you standing when all else fails. What is your why? What moves you? What makes you get out of bed? When you discover your purpose, when you find your mission, everything else becomes secondary. Rejections don't hurt as much. Disappointments don't last as long. Because you have something greater guiding you, something that transcends any relationship. And courage? You'll need a lot of it. Courage to change, courage to be alone, courage to say no, courage to choose yourself, courage to break patterns, courage to disappoint people, courage to be misunderstood. But every act of courage strengthens you. Every time you choose your well-being over others' approval, you grow. Discipline is what transforms intention into reality. It's not enough to want to change. You need to act consistently. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. It's going to the gym when it's raining. It's meditating when your mind is restless. It's writing in your journal when you're tired. Discipline is self-love in action. And humor, don't underestimate the power of laughing at yourself, of not taking yourself so seriously, of finding humor in life's ironies. Humor relieves tension. It puts things in perspective. It shows emotional maturity. A man who can laugh at his own stumbles is a man who can get back up quickly. Controlled vulnerability also has its value. I'm not telling you to close yourself off completely, but to choose wisely with whom to open up, to share consciously, to be vulnerable from a place of strength, not neediness. There's power in saying, "I'm working on myself," without making it a cry for help. Mystery maintains interest. When you tell everything, when you give yourself away completely, when you keep nothing to yourself, you lose your allure. Keep some secrets. Have your private life. Cultivate your own interests. Be a book people want to keep reading, not a pamphlet you read in 2 minutes. Financial independence cannot be ignored. A man who is financially dependent on others is always in a position of vulnerability. Work on your career. Develop multiple income streams. Invest in your future. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it buys options, and options are freedom. Appearance matters, not out of vanity, but for what it communicates. When you dress well, when you take care of yourself, when you present yourself well, you're telling the world, "I value myself," and the world responds accordingly. It doesn't have to be expensive. It needs to be thoughtful, clean, appropriate, confident. Assertive communication is an essential skill. Saying what you think without being aggressive, setting boundaries without being rude, expressing needs without being needy. When you learn to communicate clearly and respectfully, you avoid misunderstandings. You build healthier relationships. You position yourself as someone who knows what they want. Time is your most valuable resource. How are you investing yours? In chasing someone who doesn't want you, or in building the life you deserve? Every minute spent in unnecessary suffering is a minute stolen from your potential. Value your time. Protect it. Invest it wisely. Intuition is your inner compass. That quiet voice that tells you when something isn't right, that warns you when you're betraying yourself. Learn to listen to it. Learn to trust it. Often your body knows before your mind. Pay attention to the signs. Honor your instincts. And persistence. That separates winners from quitters. There will be tough days. There will be setbacks. There will be moments of doubt. But if you persist, if you keep putting one foot in front of the other, you'll get there. Persistence isn't stubbornness. It's commitment to your growth. If you've made it this far, it's because something resonated. You feel that this transformation is possible. You feel that you can be that person, the person who doesn't need external validation to shine. Leave a comment below with your biggest insight from this journey. Which rule or tool are you most excited to apply? Your feedback is crucial for our community. If you've already applied something similar and seen results, leave a like so more people see this transformative content. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss the next steps of this journey. Because your autonomy is just the beginning. The power is in your hands. And she'll miss you. But you'll be too busy living your full life.